Bill Belichick, obviously was at the top of the AFC East for a long, long time. Now he can't even get a job. That to me is that's the wildest. It's kind of being underplayed. People are like, yeah, of course he can't get a job. Bill Belichick not being able to get a job is nuts, man.
I think this one's relatively easy, right? Because we talked about
it's either Sean McDermott or Mike McDaniel. I think 1A, 1B with Sean McDermott and Mike McDaniel. Sean McDermott's longer success. I think McDermott's won easily, personally.
Yeah, McDermott's won. There's nothing wrong with saying this. McDermott has won the AFC East the past 4 years. He's number one. He's got a stronghold on that. I think the thing that Sean McDermott deserves credit for is the fact that he made a coaching change during the season. We went to Joe Brady. Joe Brady did a fantastic job revamping the offense in season, which is hard to do. And he took over the defense when Leslie Frazier steps down before the season, and they still make the playoffs. They still win the division. He's number one. McDaniel's number two. And then you've got Robert Saleh at 3. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that Gerard Mayo is going to be that far behind him, because I feel like outside of the job that Robert Saleh has done, kind of holding together the defense, holding together a lot of stars and personalities and guys together through a lot of adversity, you also could look back at some of the decisions he's made, whether it's Zach Wilson centered or maybe some other pieces they've got, and feel like, man, he didn't manage that overly well. So actually, that order that we've got it in, is Robert Saleh up a spot, but Gerard Mayo down one.
Yep. I would say this. It's interesting when you look at this division, right? Because going into last year, I think a lot of people peg this as the best division in football. But then when you look at the coaching staffs and some of the issues down the stretch where you see Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio, supposedly the players weren't buying into what he was selling down there in Miami. He ends up getting fired. You look at McDermott making a offensive coordinator change, like you said, and I would push back on this with McDermott, because when you look at his roster on paper, I would say within the last 3 or 4 years, you would have to agree that it's probably a top 2 or 3 roster in the NFL, and they have not been able to get out of the AFC Championship. Now, again,
I mean,
I'm not this year, but if you're talking about the two or three previous years, you wouldn't agree with that?
It's a top 5 roster, but he's also had a big hand in assembling it too. So I think you got to give him credit for that. He's involved in personnel.
If we're going to play that game, right, because he also has the answer to a GM that works really well with Robert Saleh. Brady, you know this more than most people in the world. A lot of times a coach has to coach a team that's assembled for him. He may have some say, but he doesn't get to make those picks or bring in the free agents that are essentially that he wants. I remember vividly, I've been on a team where a head coach and the GM didn't agree, but the GM was like, these 2 players are going to be on this team no matter what. And these other 2 players are getting cut, and you just got to deal with it. I think that's the thing a lot of people don't understand.
Was that Rex and Doug or Rex and
Rex and I'm just saying, I know firsthand experience about guys that got cut that the head coach did not want to get cut, and 2 other guys that had to stay on the team that the head coach did not want on the team. So to your point, again, Robert Saleh and the Jets, they know it's do or die this year. I don't know if I would put them at 4, Brady, just because we don't, like we said, the unknown.
I didn't say I'd put them at 4. I'm putting it at 3, but they're not Gerard Mayo could easily have a great season. And if they finish ahead, after 1 year, you'd have to put him ahead of Robert Saleh, would you not?
I would also say, if you look at Miami and Buffalo Bills, the quarterback situation has been a lot different than it has been with the New York Jets.
That's true too. All right,
what Saleh's doing, but
we just stated it's not on the head coach all the time to pick the roster.
I think generally a Bills and the Dolphins, a drop-off Jets, and then the unknown that is Gerard Mayo. That's sort of that division.
There's an unknown, though, in the fact of how you go about handling who's starting, who's not. Once you get into the season, when you've got a guy up there and you're benching Zach, then you're putting back out. Then
I can agree with that.
The way that was managed, I think if he could go back and do it again, they might have handled it differently.